Welcome to Project Pack No.11. My name is Rick.
Hi, I'm Maria.
And all of the introduction to the tools and the techniques and the ideas are in the first day's 2 videos, the intro and Molly and Martha's. So Maria, take it away.
Okay, so this first tile that I did in this pack, we're going to use the phi marker in Marcus Operandus, and we're going to make marks on here so that we end up with 2 lines that intersect. And where they intersect, that's where the sweet spot is. So I'm going to place my tile on the operandus, and I'm going to mark C there, and then when I flip it over, I'm going to mark B, because then that would be the one that would be parallel to it.
It would be parallel?
B parallel, B. Yes. And the same with the vertical. We're going to find that line, placing our tile where it goes, and you can see where the lines come and getting that squared away.
And it doesn't have to be precise. This is just like a general sweet area, just finding that sweet zone that we can use that just as this magical spot.
So now we have 2 marks on the horizontal and 2 marks on the vertical. And I found if I hold my tile so that it's totally straight in front of me and just pull the line towards me, I'm apt to have a sort of a straightish enough line without having to worry about it. And again, this is roughly phi. I mean, nobody's going to take a ruler to it. And what we're looking for is where these 2 points intersect, and that's where I'm going to start my tangling. We're doing a monotangle of the tangle Gorgeous, which I thought was appropriate for this time of year because it was inspired by a gourd or a pumpkin-y kind of plant that it grows in bulges.
And it like comes together at both ends. So
right.
It's like it's the principle of aura-ing, yet at each end they sort of like come together at the stem and the flower end there.
So with my 01, I am creating that first band, and I'm going to take my graphic one and roughly fill it. I don't want to go right to the edges because then you'll go back in with the 01 where you have more control. And we're going to just go back and forth like that.
And then use the 01. And you don't need to use the graphic one, but we want to give you a nice option and a nice tool because a slightly larger tile and we're laying down quite a bit of ink. And just remember that the graphic one, the ink stays wet or damp a little bit longer than the
That's true.
01.
That's true. So then I'm going to draw another of these arcs. Fill it in.
So you notice she's got in that, in between the 2 dark ones, there's like 2 lines. So you've got this thick, thin, neat, thick, thin effect going on here.
So this is an interesting tangle in that almost all of the lines that I'm going to do here will not be exactly the same as the other one, which in most tangles, you're repeating the same shape. These shapes are going to change as we go around in this particular version of this. Sometimes in Gorgeous, it does stay the same,
right.
but we're going to do something a little bit different. So watch with me as we go along.
So there's this nice rhythm of thin, thin, thick, thin, thin, thick, and then you end up with that dark area interspersed with that single line.
So now we're going to make a little bit of a change here going on this side. you can see how at the top I'm taking advantage of going around the stem at the top. And that's going to give us this really beautiful, voluptuous curves.
It adds, yeah, I was just going to say, it adds this wonderful curve as like the top of a gourd. You'll see how often it curves over on the top, and this
Over
is
on
how we're
itself,
doing,
yeah.
over on itself.
Yeah. This might even be a good idea to watch this whole thing and then go back and follow along.
And again, the idea is that in following it along, we, suggest that you take this as an inspiration of the direction you might take it, as opposed to, okay, I need to, copy it in this way. So these are all suggestions and tools and techniques for you to interpret and take it in your direction.
I had some fun with this. It's a bold tangle to begin with.
Right, it's lights and darks.
And then we even added more to it.
And I'm going to guess that when Maria started this particular tile or this tangle, it grew on its own. So it wasn't like, okay, I have this expected outcome. It's like, okay, well, where might it grow this time? And remembering, turn your tile as whatever's convenient, and just be mindful of that damp ink there.
I actually liked going back and forth with the pen so that we weren't doing exactly the same thing each time. And it also gave me an idea where to go with it, as opposed to doing all the little lines first and then the black. You know what I mean? I saw it grow as it went along.
Right. Right, so you didn't do all of the lines and then go back in and fill in the dark. And this whole phi ratio or Fibonacci proportion has really informed a lot of what we did from the very beginning. If you look at the position, for instance, of the logo on our kit, or the logo on the back of many of our tiles, all of the printing and the graphics, it's all laid out with these proportions in mind. It's very deliberate.
So you can see I'm going quickly here, just so that you won't have to watch me do every little stroke, so that you can turn the video off and follow along.
Yeah, feel free to pause on any of these and go back and, wait a minute, what did she do?
Or go back. Yeah, this is the beauty of these videos. Yeah. You can see this marvelous spiral coming out. That's just so fun to do.
So you can see how going around that top allowed it to fold in on itself. And this is going to give some great opportunities for shading and for sense of depth and right?
Ooh.
Isn't that beautiful?
It's almost doo-doo-doo-doo.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. But then resonating from that proportionate place, well, here we go with another piece.
So we're going to do it again and see where it takes us. One gourd on top of the other. So again, we're going to start just like the other one.
It's like a gourd erector set, right?
In my world, yeah. We don't work with straight lines.
Oh, we've got those little magnetiles, that the kids play with. Just make all these crazy structures.
So you can see now where the little tiny gorgeous is really kind of sitting on top of the first one. And we're making it do things that probably don't make sense in the real world, but in my world, they made perfect sense.
So it's that whole idea of taking inspiration, in this case from nature, and then, well, where might that go? And really, okay, now I get to use my imagination here.
So this one was more fun than the other one, but I had more to work with. So we're going to go off of a little spirally thing at the top. It's a technical term.
Right.
Yeah.
And just it's got that spin to it.
Right, so it gives you a place to spin.
Sort of like how a cadent piece comes in.
Yeah.
A little reminiscent of Takeoff and Land. And if you're just coming into this right now, we have so many wonderful Project Pack videos on this channel. So we encourage you to go back and, discover some of the amazing tools and techniques that you already have. You just have to know where they are and turn them on.
So this gorgeous at the bottom here is going behind the first one.
Look like you got comfortable with that rhythm of picking up one pen and then the other. And see how she just does that little sculpting.
So you can see that some of my lines have the skinny line in between, and some of them don't. And
Some
I
have
think
more than one.
I know, and it doesn't really matter. So I just don't want you to think, oh my God, I messed up on this, because I don't think you can mess up on this. I think a gourd would encourage you to do things a little bit differently.
They're all different. Like, there's no two gourds that are exactly alike.
Right.
And the ink in both of these pens is that same Pigma ink. And it
You can see I'm thinking as I go
Yes.
along, right?
beautiful.
So isn't that fun? Look at it. It's almost like it's twirling and dancing. So we're going to add a little graphite just to give it some contour and some energy. It's so beautiful.
And speaking of beautiful, this Maria's working at her upstairs desk.
Oh, yeah.
And that's her blotter. Every time an ink drops or blops, she'll turn it into something just absolutely stunning. It's what is that? It's like a velvet mat.
Oh, it's a suede mat that
Suede mat.
that I draw on. That's my
Blotter.
blotter, yeah. So you can see I'm just going to the right where my light source is on the left, so my right-hand side is a little darker, and kind of thinking in terms of how that would work.
And all of a sudden it's moving from flat and just taking advantage of those curves, because the curves suggest a roundness too.
I had a fun time with this. I did it quite a few different times.
And when you use the tortillon on the graphite, you don't really need to do it where the ink has been, and
You can almost can see how lightly I'm
Yeah.
touching this. Yeah.
very light hand. Look at how much a difference that makes.
Just that, right?
I think that's from your days at Dairy Queen,
I think so too.
right?
Making those swirly things at the top, yeah. I could do 4 cones in one hand.
Oh,
That's my claim to fame as a Dairy Queen. I didn't even like ice cream. It was.
so every Project Pack 11 has 3 different colors. So Maria's going to work with these colors.
So I'm going to just add a little bit of color and some, not colors that you'd ordinarily see in a gourd, but we can color them any color we want.
But it's gorgeous nonetheless.
It is gorgeous.
And again, there's a whimsy and a lightness to this touch, and adding it and just exploring.
So have fun with this part of it. There's no rhyme or reason to what I'm doing.
I like the different colors when you go over the graphite. It just makes it a little more complex, and that's really neat.
In my mind, I'm thinking that why would gourds have to be just one color, right? They can be all kinds of colors in our world, in our Zentangle world.
Well, imagination is wonderful like that. The whole thing is you can make something that, wow, that never existed, but now it does.
Wow, it's coming to life. I love it.
Yeah, the whole idea of creating is that it's something that didn't exist before. I like how you just keep just polishing it and touching it. Oh, I remember this. So under the principle of aura-ing, this is just such another wonderful interpretation of an aura.
And it's a great shading technique. So if you want to add color to something without, disturbing it or just to give it a different look, you put an aura down of a color, and this one happens to be a bluish color, and put it down lightly first, and then maybe do some rounding in there and add some bold bits of color.
And that standoff, that aura standoff from the original tangle, just makes that gap is such a wonderful contrast.
So what I'm doing here is I'm getting some red on my tortillon because I personally like working with a dirty tortillon. That's doesn't make any sense,
it mixes the colors,
it mixes the colors, and it makes them more complex. And that's just the way I work. I like not having colors out of the tube or colors off the pencil. I like having the opportunity to make it different than anything else. So oftentimes during this set of tiles, we'll mix colors together, and then I'll use the same tortillon throughout the whole thing so that it will have that look of complex color.
Well, and over time, all of the tortillons will become...
Yes. I don't worry about it. So I'm taking that tortillon and the color that's on it and just lightly tinting it so that when it's done, it'll be a very, very pale blue, and you can see it slightly. And that was just using the chalk that was on the tortillon.
And just on one side, so I think that's really sweet.
Right.
And then the chop. We had a great blog on chops, and all of the iterations that Maria's and my chops have gone through over the years. I love that you just did that on one side, too.
Whenever you're doing a tile, stop at different times and hold it out, and you'll see sometimes, I don't want to go any further. This is just really unique the way it is.
Yeah, and you can come back to it at any time and
Right.
add to it. Just sit with it and then come back and appreciate it later.
This was so much fun. Thanks for joining us.
So thanks for being part of this day, and we'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Okay, bye.
Bye now.